serving up a warm dish of the Triad's culinary fare, here's your weekly helping of food, news, and views. This is The Man Who Ate the Town.
Hey, folks, and welcome to episode 45 of the Man Who Ate the Town podcast. This is for the week of August the 15th through the 21st, 2017. My name is Tim Beeman, and I am opening the recipe box. I'm recording this episode of The Man Who Ate the Town at Test Pattern Studios. Test Pattern is located at 701 North Trade Street in the Historic Arts District of downtown Winston-Salem. Check out their Facebook page for their calendar of events. That's facebook.com/testpatternbar. I'll have a special one-on-one interview with Jordan Keiper in a little bit later in the show. You'll understand more of who he is once we have that talk. Next Monday, August 21st, there will be that big solar eclipse that everybody's talking about. In honor of that, local Goody champion Krispy Kreme will have a chocolate glaze take over the traditional original glaze, and will happen from August 19th and 20th in the evening when the red hot light is on. And then it will go all day, August 21st. It'll be pretty cool. Add that to the Reese's Donuts, and I think Krispy Kreme has got some winners on their hands. So we found out last week that the former Sweet Potatoes location will now be the Trade Street Diner. I found out about what was going on in there just about an hour before Michael Hastings dropped it on the Journal. So I'm recycling his story by now. But the new place is owned by Chef John Sharp, who formerly worked at Blue, I think, and he has recently purchased the Town Center Diner in Wahlberg from Norb Cooper, who is co-owner of the King's Crab Shack, Good Times Hospitality, I believe, King's Crab Shack, Silo, Willows, and Bar on 4th Street. Chef John is opening the restaurant with his former bosses and local food entrepreneurs, Freddie and Terry Lee. The Lees already have their hands in a plethora of restaurants in town, Bernardin's, Blue, and the newly opened Cowboy Brazilian Steakhouse, as well as several others outside of Winston-Salem. According to the article, Chef John says the diner will be modern Southern and not a traditional diner, and that scares the bejesus out of me. What is it with the restaurateurs around here that won't take a chance on something new? Okay, a diner to go along with Mary's, Murphy's Lunch, Famous Toastery, Courtside Cafe, and Downtown Deli. Sure, not all those are diners per se, but they are all doing about the same thing. Why, oh why, must we have more than that? Bring something new. I hope it does well, and I'll certainly support it, but I will honestly say I wish it was something else. I love the food in this town, but it's starting to bore me. Not the food, but the scene. We need something else. Chef John also says the diner will be open for lunch and dinner, and the menu will be small but change often. The dinner menu will have about 8 entrees, 4 to 5 salads, and 4 to 5 appetizers. Again, congrats to Jeff Bacon of Providence and the Triad Community Kitchen for winning the popular vote for Chef Tim Grantinetti's Dr. Brownstone Sweet Summer Love Festival. They won the for the local love event. Chef Jeff Bacon won the popular vote, and congratulations to my pal Chef Travis Myers of Willows for winning the judges' vote. And congratulations again to Chef Tim Graninetti for another great festival. Finland Fish Brewery will be opening their doors in the next week or so. I know they have they have a friends and family event coming this week, which means the big day is near. Check out their Facebook page for more information, and I'll be having them on the Less Desirable soon. I talked to them on Friday about that, or Thursday on that. Food holidays for this week. The 8/15 is National Lemon Meringue Pie Day, and also it's the 49th anniversary. It has nothing to do with food. 49th anniversary of Woodstock today, the 15th, starting 3-day, well, actually it spanned over 4 days, but it was a 3-day festival. The 16th is National Bratwurst Day, or Bratwurst Day, and National Rum Day. The The 17th is National Vanilla Custard Day. The 18th is National Ice Cream Pie Day and National Pinot Noir Day. The 19th is National Honeybee Day, National Soft Serve Ice Cream Day, National Hot and Spicy Food Day, and National Potato Day. And on the 20th, it's National Lemonade Day, National Chocolate Pecan Pie Day, and on the 21st, it's National Spumoni Day. And if you don't know what spumoni is, it's a molded Italian ice cream made with layers of different colors and flavors, generally containing candied fruits and nuts. Typically, it is of 3 flavors with a fruit nut layer between them. The ice cream layers are often mixed with whipped cream. That's your food holidays. Now, food history for this week. 815 in 1910, Konstantin Fallberg died. He was a Russian chemist and co-discoverer in 1879 with Ira Ramson of the artificial sweetener saccharin. On the 15th in 1911, Crisco is introduced by Procter & Gamble. Crisco is a hydrogenated shortening made from vegetable oil, which keeps its solid form even in warm weather. On the same day in 1912, last week I mentioned Julia Child was born, she died 3 days ago, several years back. But she was born on 8/15/1912. She was American cooking authority, obviously, cookbook author, TV cooking show host, and etc. During World War II, she worked for the OSS from 1941 to 1945, and the OSS is the forerunner of the CIA. On the 15th in 1819, Wilbur Hardy was born. He was the founder of the fast food chain Hardee's in 1960. In 1928, on the 8/15, Walter E. Dimer died, working for the Fleer Chewing Gum Company. He experimented with recipes for chewing gum as a hobby. He invented bubble gum in 1928. Bubble gum, not chewing gum. That was Wrigley. On 8/15 in 1943, Sergeant Edward Zuba received the Legion of Merit Award because of his talent to use food scraps in unusual and appetizing recipes. I don't know what that means. It kind of scares me. On the 15th in 2009 in Detroit, Michigan, GourmetGiftBaskets.com set a new record for the world's largest cupcake at 1,224 pounds. On the 16th in 1888, John Stith Pemberton died. Pemberton was the pharmacist who invented Coca-Cola in 1885. So he didn't get to see it grow into much. It grew. Probably the most recognized brand in the world, but not when he was there. In 1889, the same day, Hanson Goodrich was granted a patent for the first modern stovetop coffee percolator. Not anything that I found of interest happened on the 17th. On the 18th in 2010, the USDA expanded a local recall of eggs from Iowa to Iowa producers to 380 million eggs nationwide after they were linked to an outbreak of salmonella poisoning. The massive recall was expanded to more than 500 million eggs by August 20th. More than 100,000 people had been sickened. On the 19th, in 1851, Charles Elmer Hires was born. He was the pharmacist and creator of Hires Root Beer, which he introduced to the world at the Philadelphia Centennial Expo in 1876. In 1856, on the 19th, Gail Borden was granted a U.S. patent for a process of making condensed milk, which he had developed in 1853. On the 19th, in 1913, candy manufacturer Clarence Crane registered Lifesavers trademark. He invented the mint hard candy in 1912. On the 19th, in 1919, that's 8/19/1919, William B. Ward registered Hostess trademark for breads, biscuits, and cakes. On 1947, on the 19th, J. Ahrens and D. Van Villages synthesized vitamin A. On the 20th, in 1867, the British Parliament enacted the Merchant Shipping Act of 1867, which mandated that lemon or lime juice or other anti-scorbutics be provided to most ship crews daily to prevent illness like scurvy. On the 20th in 1829, the trademark La Choy was 1929. The trademark La Choy was registered by La Choy Food Products. On the 21st, in 1814, Benjamin Thompson, Count von Rumford, died. American physician who invented the percolator, a pressure cooker, and a kitchen stove. He is frequently credited with creating Baked Alaska. On the 21st, in 1862, McDonald's franchisee Edwin Traisman of Madison, Wisconsin, received a patent for a method for preparing frozen French fried potatoes. On the 21st, in 1888, pubs are now allowed to stay open 12 hours a day, each day, except on Sunday in the UK. On the 21st, in 1997, the largest meat recall in U.S. history, Hudson Foods closed its Nebraska plant and recalled 25 million pounds of ground beef that were potentially contaminated with E. coli. And on the 21st, in 2014, Governor Jerry Brown of California signed legislation that overturned a ban on pets at bars and restaurants. The new law allows dogs at outside patios, effective at that time on January 1st, 2015. And that's your food holidays and food history for this week. All right, guys. Well, this is something different for me. I'm actually going to interview one of my podcast co-hosts. With us in the studio for this week's Man Who Ate the Town is Mr. Jordan Keiper. He is still part owner of the Tavern in Old Salem with his family. He used to be the bar guru there, but he had to step away from that because he took on a new position, what we're going to talk about here in just a second. But also, he is co-host of Sipping NC, The Art of Drinking with me. Then we record those on Thursdays, and they come out on Thursdays. But the new position is very exciting, and he seems to be having fun with it, and that's good. And it's something that the state needs. It needs it from both sides. It needs it from the side that's buying, and it needs it from the side that's selling. Basically spirits in North Carolina, and the official title, I believe, is North Carolina Spirits Ambassador.
Correct.
Well, welcome, Jordan, to this show, which you've never been on. You sat in that seat over 35 times, yeah, but you've never been interviewed. You've been the interviewer with me.
Well, thank you for the nice introduction. It is fantastic to meet you on this show.
Yeah. So tell us, what is because you're the only one in existence, right? Mm-hmm. North Carolina Spirits Ambassador.
So my role as the North Carolina Spirit Ambassador is someone to bring in the spirits of North Carolina, the distilled spirits. And the way my position got about was, throughout the years I've supported North Carolina distilleries from the beginning, and we've put them in our bar, in our restaurant, and everything, and got them more and more exposure. Started to do events for them and get them out there a little bit better. And through that, through knowing some of the distillers here in North Carolina and getting to know them on a personal level and to enjoy some time alone with them and everything, learned that they were getting into bars and restaurants, but not on the same pace as other places. You see a Bacardi product come out brand new, and it's in 50% of North Carolina 2 days after it comes out.
Sure.
Well, I wanted to do that with North Carolina. There were other places that were talking about North Carolina. They had them on their accounts and everything. They had their spirits on their sales sheets as representatives, but there wasn't one sole person being the face of North Carolina distilleries. And talking with the distillers, we needed that. We needed a face to North Carolina. We needed somebody out there to promote it, to preach about the goodness that's coming out of our state, and to get us into more ABC stores and more MXB accounts, more bars and restaurants throughout the state. And after talking about it, we talked, well, we need somebody that's really passionate. We need somebody that has a full heart and soul into North Carolina distilled spirits, as well as into North Carolina, and knows the knowledge of how to put it into bars, how to promote it in bars, as well as putting it on cocktail lists and teaching people how to mix North Carolina spirits. And learning about that and everything, and talking about who should we pick and everything, who should we get to do this, it came about, well, why don't I do it?
Yeah.
And talking it over with my family, and I was like, this sounds like a pretty interesting opportunity. This might be something that we could do. My father was the one that said, that sounds perfect. That sounds absolutely perfect for you. You have something here. The distillers have always recognized. They've always respected you. They've respected the drinks that you've come out with and the ability to get them on to different magazines and everything throughout the state. Go for it. And being a man that was the vice president of Southern Foods and had a very high sales record, and a lot of people inside this state and other states knew of my dad and his sales record, it was at that point that I said, well, if one of the best salesmen in North Carolina, as well as somebody who's extremely respected throughout this state and into others, tells me that he thinks this is a good idea and he thinks that I'd be great at it, then I should probably listen to this man.
Yeah.
And
it's your dad.
Yeah, it's my dad.
So he wouldn't steer you wrong.
Yeah.
And
he's one of those guys that would tell me if I'm a dumbass or not. Too.
Of course, yes.
So
yeah, as dads are wont to do. I say that, it comes out of my face a lot when I talk to my son. Yeah. But so you are basically the spokesmodel, if you will, for the distilleries that are signing up with you.
Yes.
How many distilleries are there in North Carolina right now currently?
So there are 53 licensed distilleries in the state of North Carolina. We are one of the fastest growing states in the country for distilleries. Yeah. And we're thinking about year's end, we might have around 60 to 70 distilleries.
Okay. What would be the normal process without a spirits ambassador? For them to get into restaurants, to get into ABC stores, and are they allowed to go outside of the state?
So they can if they get the licensing.
Okay, it's a petition. You petition for it, you get a license. Okay, move from there. So what's the normal process for a distillery to get their product into a venue such as, like I said, a bar or an ABC store?
So for a distiller who's opened up and everything, let's take for example the one here in Winston-Salem, Sutlers.
Okay.
So Scott and Tim spend 15 hours or 20, 30 hours at the distillery, right? Okay, so usually the distiller spends the majority of their time at the distillery making the product. In a week.
Okay.
Well, you take that time, all right, that they've spent making the product, and then you have only maybe 20 hours the rest of the week to devote to getting that product into MXB accounts, into bars and restaurants and ABC stores.
What does MXB mean?
MXB is the product codes that you'd have to order for your MXB account. Means you're a bar or restaurant with the correct license. Okay. And you'd have to spend that time to get into other places. Well, you think about it. The coast is a 5-6 hour drive from here. Yeah. Right? So you're spending 6 hours driving to the coast.
Yeah.
And then you've only got 15 hours left. You've got 15 hours left to spend to try to get some accounts. Yeah. Well, you don't have much time left in your day. So that's where I come in. I'm there, and I can go into these accounts to spend my full time, rest of my life, devoted into getting your products on the shelves. I go in there and make sure that with my product list, and I make sure that North Carolina is well represented. One of the things that I wanted to do when I started this was to not be just another sales rep going in with 3 North Carolina products or 4 North Carolina products. I wanted to have the majority of North Carolina's distilleries in the state. So that way when I go into a North Carolina bar or restaurant, there is no way that they can turn me away because I have everything that they want in their quarterly pricing.
So what you're saying there is that it's not just you have some product. Okay, here's what I sell. Yeah. And let's be clear, do you actually sell it or you just represent it?
I represent it.
Okay.
They have to go through the
ABC commission for it, yes. Okay. Now, so let's say you go into Tim's Bar on the Corner. That's what it's called, just for this scenario. And you walk in, and I say, look, I'm not pushing any rum right now. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in some this Outer Banks distilling stuff here you got down here a lot about. I'm interested in that, and I'm looking for. I'm tired of the Carolina whiskey thing, quote unquote Carolina whiskey that everybody's putting out, because everybody does that. So what else do you have to offer me at that point?
At that point, we talk about everything that I've got in my book. We have vodkas, any type of vodka that you want. Do you want a wheat vodka, a potato vodka, sweet potato vodka? Do you want a gluten-free vodka or a rice vodka? We've got everything.
Yeah.
What type of whiskey do you enjoy? Do you like hard whiskeys? Do you like a little bit higher proofed whiskeys? Do you like rye? Do you like single malts? And base it off of that. For example, with gin.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks about gin and you think of the pininess of gin. But once you
Tastes
sit
like-
down and
tastes
taste...
like paint stripper.
Yeah, you always get that juniper, that pininess. But with North Carolina, each one of our North Carolina gins are completely different from the other one. And that's the beauty that we can do. I can go into a store, a restaurant, or bar, and sit there and taste them on 5 different gins that day. And we can pick out which one that they'd really like to enjoy and see on their shelves. They can pick out all of them. I've had multiple accounts that have picked out 3 different North Carolina gins and kicked Bombay and everybody else off the shelves and said, we're just going to do this. We're going to use only North Carolina.
Now, I had, I'm going to share this on this show, although it really has to do with our show, Sipping NC, The Art of Drinking. I had a friend of mine who is on the board with me of the Winston-Salem Ambassadors. Not to be a spirit ambassador, but the Winston-Salem Ambassadors. And she said she was supporting local this week, and she had a picture of Lassiter's rum.
Yeah.
And she goes, I bought this and got it home. Now I'm afraid to open it because I'm afraid I'm going to be disappointed. And she says, Tim, do you know, this was on Facebook publicly, Tim, do you know anything about this? I said, well, actually, I do. Gentry was on.
I happen to know that.
I happen to have a bottle on the shelf in the studio, and we have talked to him. And you can learn more about this before you even open it to see what you're going to get into by listening to what he says on Sipping NC. And I posted a link to that particular episode. Yeah. And I also tagged Gentry on it. And he came back and was doing dialogue with her, and she said that she tried it, would definitely recommend it, and has probably become her house rum.
Now, see, that's the thing. North Carolina is taking over. There is a reason why Tito's, and we'll talk about Tito's real quick, because Tito's is one that people are starting to recognize more and more, and you see Tito's spending a lot of money here in North Carolina. Millions and millions of dollars are going into North Carolina from Tito's right now. And the reason why that is because North Carolina is taking over. North Carolina is growing at a rate right now that is absolutely fantastic. North Carolina spirits are getting better and better, and we're knocking people left and right off store shelves. Yeah. And instead of having a Blanton's, we now have a Rua on. Instead of having a Bombay, we have a Sutler's or a Doc Porter's on. Instead of having a Jim Beam Black, that extra age, we can get a 1712 on that has a beautiful oakiness to it.
Who makes that?
1712 is out of Foothills Distillery in Conover, North Carolina.
Okay.
But that's the beauty of it. Just like a couple weeks ago, we talked about our Bedlam vodka here in North Carolina. And we talked about the beauty of that and how it changed every mindset that you had ever thought of vodka, and how you always think of vodka as medicinal and the smell of it being pungent, and it just smells like rubbing alcohol. And we talked about...
I feel like you're going to get a shot.
Yeah.
Not a shot of liquor, but like an injection.
Yeah. We talked about that on that show, and how it changed everything that you had ever thought about vodka and the flavors that vodka pulled out and everything.
Yeah.
It's not just a hidden spirit anymore. It's something that has beautiful flavors and sweetness and creaminess and a nose that won't turn you away. And that's what North Carolina's doing, is we're just knocking it right out of the park left and right.
Well, there's a difference between just making spirits, and there's a different between making spirits and making good, distinct spirits.
Yeah.
I do admit, I think that a lot of times some of the Carolina whiskeys, or the moonshine, or whatever you want to call them here, start to run together to me. But the things like the vodkas and the gins and the rums and the bourbons or whiskeys, whatever you want to call them, that we have been getting on the show, those have all stood out as good product that I can actually turn around. I have turned 2 or 3 people on the Rua.
You're proud of it.
I'm very proud of it. I'm proud that I was able to help push a little bit in this market. What little I did. Yeah. I mean, you're the pusher, but I am there behind you. I'm taller than you, so I'm holding it up while you're announcing it. And I'm proud of what North Carolina is doing in not only the spirits, but in the wine and the beer market as well.
Yeah.
We are becoming a very awesome libation state.
Oh yeah.
As much as the government tries to hold us back on that, we are becoming it's one of the few entertainment we actually get anymore. But I am very proud of all the stuff that comes out, but I think I'm mostly impressed with the spirits aspect, because there's, unlike beer in wine where there's 1,000 different varieties, there's really not a whole lot of variety in spirits.
Yeah.
So it's up to the distillers and the people that work around them to create something unique that people are going to want to buy, and it looks like people are wanting to buy it, and that's exciting. From my position as a co-host on Sipping NC, and my position as a drinker of spirits.
Well, here in the state, we've got everything.
Yeah.
So, and there's more coming, and that's the thing. We have everything from honey liqueurs, chocolate liqueurs, to different vodkas, different gins, different rums, different whiskeys, aged, unaged, single malts, ryes, everything that you can ever imagine. We've got it. Yeah. And we've got more coming. The only thing that we can't do is tequila. But we've got others coming out. We've got a Jamaican rum that is being made right now. A rum that is played off of a Jamaican rum that's being made. And that's the nice thing. We've got other stuff out there that's in the works that's coming out. We've got somebody playing around with absinthe right now, and we've got Amaro and all that. Everybody's playing around with something. They're absolutely brilliant in what they're coming out with. And that's the thing, is we're taking over. We're taking over quick.
Yeah, that's good. Very good. So how many, at this juncture, how many products are in your portfolio that you sell?
So I represent the majority of North Carolina distilleries.
Okay.
If you look through your MXB book, your ABC book, or do some research online, I represent the majority of North Carolina. And that's the nicest thing for me, is to be able to go into a bar and say, hey, if you open up your ABC quarterly pricing book, which all bars and restaurants get, if you open that up and you look at anything that's under North Carolina, the North Carolina section, and you've got any questions, give me a call and I can help you out.
Yeah.
If you have any questions about anything, if you want to taste something, let me know and I'll help you out.
Okay.
And that's the nice thing with that, is I'm Mr. North Carolina.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys,
you're Mr. North Carolina.
a lot of guys have labeled me the voice of North Carolina distilleries.
I would call you that.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I've watched you become this I'm a Winston-Salem ambassador, spirit ambassador from North Carolina, and you've transformed and stuff while on the show, and while you hook up definitely outside there, it's fun to watch you work on Sipping NC too, because a lot of the people that you represent have or are going to be on the show.
Yeah.
And you really know your stuff, and that's a plus. One reason I wanted to be involved with you in the podcast, but also it's just fun because you really know what you're doing, and it's good for the restaurants and the bars and ABC outlets and commissions or whatever they're called in this state, because they have someone as knowledgeable as you who is pushing homegrown product that can compete and can overtake the known factor. The only way that anything's going to happen with these things over the established brands is for someone to purvey it with confidence and complete knowledge, and that's exactly what you bring to the table, and I commend you, my friend, for that. And I know that the distilleries in this state and the ones who are already signed up with you already know this. The ones who aren't signed up with you yet are about to find out. And I'm proud of you and what you got going on, and I'm glad to be part of the podcast with you, and glad to be your friend.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So there's not really any contact information unless someone's listening from a bar or a restaurant. How can people find you if they're wanting to talk to you about that?
So you can always give me a ring on my cell if you want to find out more information, or you can send me an email as well. For my cell number, you can call me 336-287-4348. I use our Sipping NC email as well for anybody who wants to contact me with information or anything like that.
On Jordan at sippingnc.ws.
And if anybody has any questions about any North Carolina distilleries or anything like that, shoot. If you just want to talk about what's going on in our state, shoot me an email, and I'll get back with you.
Because not only do you like to drink it, you like to talk about it.
I love to talk about it.
It's your passion.
Yeah.
So
there hasn't been a tasting that I haven't enjoyed so far.
I'm with you, pal. I'm with you. So, Jordan Keiper, Sipping NC, the Art of Drinking co-host, and your North Carolina Spirits Ambassador. Thank you so much for being here, buddy.
Thank you, Tim.
The Man Who Ate the Town podcast is part of the Less Desirables podcast network. Along with this podcast, you can listen to the Less Desirables, the Beer Dads, Fan Interference, and Sipping NC, the Art of Drinking. You can find all these podcasts and their latest episodes on our brand new website and directory, tldpodnetwork.com. If you have the Amazon Echo or Echo Dot, you can enable the AnyPod skill and ask Alexa to have AnyPod play The Man Who Ate the Town or any of the other shows on the network. I'd greatly appreciate it if you visited my sponsors, Washington Perk and Provision Company. Perk has 2 locations, 228 West Acadia Avenue, 301 West 4th Street, downtown Winston-Salem. They have Larry's Beans Coffee. They have dairy and other things from Homeland Creamery. They have mustards and ketchups and Dijon mustards and napkins, beer, wine, bread, Wolfie's custard, a deli that makes great sandwiches, biscuits in the morning. You know, Perk has all of that. Washington Perk is better than a convenience store, but not quite a grocery store. Located 228 West Acadia Avenue, 301 West 4th Street. Find them on the web, facebook.com/Washington Perk. The Humble Bee Shop. You can find Brittany McGee and her Humble Bee Shop at 1003 Brookstown Avenue in the west end of downtown. Visit her for cookies, cakes, pies, and other dessert goodies specially made for you. Everything is carefully crafted and made 100% from scratch. The Humble Bee Shop wants to challenge your perception of scratch made and leave you with an experience you couldn't possibly forget. For more information, follow them on Facebook and visit thehumblebeeshop.co. And shop is SHOPPE.co. Keep an eye on my blog and this podcast to find out more about the food news happenings around your town. If you have any food news, please send me an email, tim@themanwhoatethetown.com. Like us on Facebook. On Twitter, we are man8thetown. And on Instagram, we are Man Who Ate the Town. And my name is Tim Beeman. And I want to thank Jordan Keiper for being on to talk about the North Carolina Spirit Ambassadorship that he is taking care of. He's the only one doing it, and we're proud of him. And like I said, my name is Tim, and I am closing the recipe box. Until next time, thank you for reading. Thank you for listening. Bon appetit. The views and opinions stated by me or any of my guests are solely those of ours and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of our hosting companies, distributors, enemies, friends, or relatives. This podcast is copyrighted and cannot be reproduced or distributed without express written consent of the man who ate the town, that's me, and Such Limited Inc. However, if you ask nicely, we'll probably let you.